Hello and welcome back to another Star Wars Legion video. Today we are going to be ranking the remainder of the GAR units in the game on a tier list. But before we get started, I would like to just reiterate that I do not play competitive right now, and this is just my general thoughts on how I view the power level and the theme. They kind of go hand in hand, and that's kind of where I get my ranking from. On these units, you can take it as it is if you want, but just remember, this is not really competitive advice. This is just general talk on the units in the game and how I view them. And maybe it will fit with competitive play, but maybe not. But without further ado, let's dive into it. I have rearranged these pictures down here so that we can flow about each unit type a little bit better. And I start off with core, and that is just because core is the core of your force. So we're going to start off with the clone troopers here. I've already moved them into B slot. I am going to be basing the rest of how I view each unit in the game around these clone trooper infantry, since I believe them to be the only real viable option for the GAR or Republic at this point in time in the game until marksmen come out. And that is just because I think pikes are D tier overall. My reasoning for these two tier list placements on here is infantry unit, your clone trooper infantry unit, has reliable 1. They get a surge token each round. They're able to share that surge with other clone trooper units in the game. That includes people like Commander Cody, Captain Rex, your clone commandos, your ARCs, your ARFs, anything that has the clone trooper tag type can get or share a token as long as they're within 2 in line of sight of that unit. And because of that, I think they're just a solid unit, and I don't know why you'd ever take pikes. Besides, I can see maybe in competitive if you want to have another activation, and I believe the meta right now in competitive play is high activation counts. So if you're looking for that, I can see taking a pike, but not more than 1, honestly. But that is why these two units are placed here on my tier list. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about Republic core right now. In the future when marksmen come out, I'll probably have more to say. But let's move on to the operative slot. We're going to start off here with R2-D2. And he is definitely C tier. He has some very interesting play styles. He's really slow right now. And I just find playing with the slower units not as fun, and like there you can take his command card that ups his speed, but I just, for his points, unless again you want another cheap activation who could get you a victory point because he has the secret mission keyword, I don't really see the point in taking him other than those two things, because he doesn't have good attack, he doesn't have good health. He has white saves, so like he, in a very niche scenario, I think he could play well, but I just have not had luck with him overall, and I'd much rather take more fun things, honestly. So that is why he's C tier. I have nothing more to say on him, so we're going to move on to the Bad Batch, and I will be honest, I want to put them here, but because of how many points they are, I'm putting them in A. And they're just a lot of points. I believe them to be worth their points. I think they're a very solid unit. They have steady. The only subtractor that I'm giving them is the "we are not regs" keyword, and that just stops them from being able to do all that clone trooper sharing. So I lied a little bit earlier because they can't gain the surges from your clone trooper infantry. Because they have the "we are not regs," and it fits thematically. I love them. They're probably my favorite, maybe not my favorite operative in the whole game, but they are up there, and I like them thematically. I like them playstyle wise, both in Rebels and in GAR. I will say, if this was the Rebel list, I might have to move the Bad Batch up into S tier, and by might I mean I probably would, but we'll get to that tier list whenever I make a video on it. But yeah, like right now, I think they're a solid A tier for the Republic. They are a very heavy point investment, and They can take wounds pretty easily. Maybe not pretty easily. They have a lot of health, and they'll stay on the board probably the whole game unless they get focused fire. And if you're taking them with a few, or like one Jedi or two Jedi, or commanders, sorry, then I could see them living throughout the whole game. But yeah, I think they're a pretty tough unit to take down, and I think they always provide value, even if there's only Hunter on the board, or if there's just Hunter and Crosshair, or Hunter and Wrecker, or whoever else you want with Hunter. But yeah, I think they're a very solid unit. And that's pretty much all I have to say about them. Padme, I think, is going to be D tier. And I love her thematically going with Anakin. I have this really fun list that is just Anakin, Padme, R2 with C-3PO. Sometimes I add an Obi. Just because... And they're not run with a lot of things, because overall, heavy in the points. It's pretty heavy in the points. But they are really fun. I call it my Geonosis force, and it's pretty much them with a bunch of regular clone infantry. So yeah, it's just a really fun thematic force, but overall, Padme doesn't do a lot. Her losing Exemplar really hurt her, and playstyle wise, I think for the Republic, I just don't think she is worth the points. And again, she has secret mission, or can get secret mission from one of her command cards, so it could be a victory point, but you do have to get her there. She has bad saves, white saves, when most of your army has reds, or a way to get around having the whites pretty much. So yeah, it doesn't feel good to play her right now in the game, and that's kind of why she's down in D. But I will move on from the operatives in that case, and we're going to move straight on into the support class. And this is probably one of my favorite units to take in GAR, and that is the Clone Commandos. And I think they are S tier. They're tough to kill. This is just the generic Clone Commandos, by the way. They are hard to kill. They're a threat even when there's only one or two of them. They can still score. They can secure objectives. They are really good at playing the objective game in the game. I do normally take 2 so that I get 2 of those tokens on, but I could see taking 3 and having a lot of fun with 3 of those complete the mission objective tokens, not objective tokens, complete the mission tokens on the field, and just having a field day with 12 commandos on the field. It just seems really fun, and I think they are an S tier support, and they're just really good at playing the game right now, in my opinion. That moves us on to Delta Squad, and I am putting them in B tier. And you're probably like, but Clone Commandos are S tier, and that's because when I run Clone Commandos, I don't ever really put any upgrades on them. Like, they are just a solid unit for that amount of points. I believe them to be 90 points. They're just a solid unit overall for that points. And then you get Delta Squad, who's a slight upgrade to that, but is also 15 points more, I believe, at 105. So yeah, and like the things that they add with the independent recover is nice, because you get the shield back, and they have an extra target and null courage, but I just don't find those upgrades worth the extra 15 points that I could be doing something else, like adding an upgrade to Anakin or anything else in my force. I just don't find it being that useful. So I'd much rather have, and they are still only 1 health each. So there's 4 people in Delta Squad. They are 1 health each. The Katarn battle armor does mitigate that along with the shield, but if they get hit in a melee force, which the person I play with most often always gets my commandos in melee, and at least Delta Squad, and that's probably because I move them up too far, but I just put them in B because of all those reasons. You can disagree, it's fine. I just much rather do something else with those 15 points. And we're going to move on from there to the Fluttercraft, And I'm going to put that above Delta Squad. And I think it's a little pricey, but the mobility... Ooh, I almost forgot. It has immune to melee, so I think I'm going to put it up in A. Immune to melee and range 1 weapons, I believe. Could be wrong about the range 1 weapons. No, it does have immune to range 1 weapons, looking at it. But yeah, it is just a solid unit, very movable, very great at playing objectives right now. And we're going to get into a little bit of the units that I think are good at playing objectives. Theme-wise, I think as of right now, when it comes to the Republic, unless you are playing the Wookiee Battle Force, it doesn't really make sense for the Fluttercraft to be around. So theme is probably D, unless you're playing the Wookiee Battle Force. Then it's S tier. But overall, it really only fits whenever Wookiees are around. So, I mean, it's cool. I love it. And when I'm playing Wookiees, it's fantastic. And even sometimes my buddy will take this in his regular Republic Force, and it will mess up a unit. You put Comms Jammer on it, it's very good against the Separatists or the Sis, and it just wrecks. So, without further ado, I'm going to move on to the Bark. This one makes me a little sad, because this I'm putting below Delta Squad. I will say I think Delta Squad is better than the regular core, so it's going to go above. But Barks here I think are below all of that. Both theme and power level, I'd much rather have something else out of the Barks. Honestly, I think I'm going to just put it above R2. I want the Barks to be good because they are awesome when it comes to the Republic. I love them when I see them in the Clone Wars. They're just a classic like speeder design for the Republic. But it feels bad whenever I take the extra gun upgrade on the Bark that it loses a speed value to go down to speed 2. And that extra gun oftentimes isn't worth losing a speed. So if I was going to take Barks, it's just going to be naked pretty much, and then they're just lackluster for their point cost, in my opinion. I'd much rather take other supports like the Commandos, or like our next one, which is the ATRT, which I think is a A-tier support slot, and I just think it's really solid. I am choosing to be a little bit pickier with my S tiers. If not, then I think this would probably be up in S tier. It is a very solid unit. With Scout 1, it gets onto the board first. If you put a laser cannon on it, it has range 4, which means you can pretty much shoot with an aim first turn. If you play with Commander Cody, not even with Commander Cody, if you play with Link Targeting Array on it and Commander Cody, or just give it an order the first turn, then it could have 2 aims, which it doesn't really need, but because it only rolls so many dice. But it is a very solid unit. I enjoy it immensely. It has armor 2, red saves, very tanky for the point cost too. So yeah, it's just a very beefy unit. And honestly, like, I could see switching out ATRTs with Commandos. I just like the Commandos a lot, so I'm going to be personal biased here and say that the Commandos are better. But I could see them being switched out where you take 3 ATRTs or something like that. And just because they are that solid of a unit. I believe this is our last support, and that is the Swoop Bikes. And as much as it saddens me to say, they are above the Barks. And honestly, I think they might be B tier overall. And they have 1 more health than the Barks. You don't have to reduce their speed when you take an extra gun. They just have a lot more mobility, which I think if I was taking something like the Bark, I'd rather have the mobility over... actually, I think they even do better when it comes to damage, but that is where I'm going to rank them. It's in B tier, just below my Clone Force Troopers infantry there. And not finally, but we are going to move into the heavies now. And with the lat, I think comes our first heavy, who's solidly above Delta Squad. Very versatile unit. I'm going to be probably really biased. I'm just going to say this now about the Republic heavies. And that is because, dear in my heart, they all lay. And they just have a special place there, especially the Saber Tank. And I'm going to try not to rate the Saber Tank too high, but we'll get there when we get there. The lat, though, it's very versatile. Honestly, I think I'm going to drop it below into D tier because I'm trying to get over my biased. And I've played it in multiple games. My buddies played it in games. It gets units onto the board further because of the transport keyword. But after that, it's just kind of there. It does some damage. I could see it being really good with Hound and Grizzler along with Cody, having that synergy with the Observe tokens. But other than that, I always struggle to take it because of the point costs, and it always feels lackluster because of that point cost. So I'm going to drop it in C. And that's just how I feel about it. And again, feel free to disagree with this whole tier list because it's just my opinion. Moving on to the infantry support platform, and this is definitely above the lat, definitely above the swoop bikes, definitely above the commandos, above the fluttercraft, above the Bad Batch. I'm going to be putting it in A because of its speed, because of its armor. It's just a very solid unit overall, both with armor 3 and cover 1. So it's kind of tanky. It's got 7 health, and it can do some damage, and it's just really nice for that sense. Again, mobility. If you haven't noticed, I really love mobility in this game. I love units going far. I love them being able to get to objectives faster, hold more board space. That is kind of my play style. So something with 3 speed is going to get rated pretty high, which is probably why the swoop bikes are B instead of C, why the infantry support platform is A. But yeah, I will digress on that point, but I just want to point out that bias as well. I do love mobility when it comes into the game. There are a few exceptions to that, like Yoda. Yeah, it's a speed 1 move, but I just love Yoda, so I think he's an S tier unit. Again, let's move on to the Saber Tank, and I gotta say, I love the Saber Tank. I do not actually own a copy or miniature of the Saber Tank. I have to proxy it in, and that is just because when I got into the game, it was out of stock, and it has been out of stock for a while, and I have not found it anywhere. I have looked in multiple game stores. I've looked on multiple online sites. I just have not had luck finding the actual miniature. I use one of my AAT tanks from the Separatists as a substitute for the base and whole size, and that is just what I do. But it is a very fun unit. I'm going to rate it. I want to put it in A, but I want to put it here, an S. But I'm gonna shuffle this around. I think we're gonna move the fluttercraft down to B. We're gonna move the Saber Tank up to A here. Just off of personal bias again, I love this tank. Last game I took it in, I took it with the beam weapon. It's just super fun to just hose down some Shadow Collective Mandos with it. I absolutely love it, and I can't say too much about it. It's pretty tanky since it's a tank. I normally don't move my tanks up into like very close range, so they are always in the back securing one of the back points, or just helping me secure a point somewhere if I can. And that's pretty much all it's useful for. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in A. It is pretty expensive, so I can understand not taking this, especially when it comes to competitive play. I doubt this tank is taken that much just because it is, I think, 160 points. Let me just quickly check that. It's 155. So yeah, I could see not taking it just because it's a lot of points. And GAR is already a lot of points. And by the way, just to point out, the infantry support platform is 65 points. And I think it is way undercosted for that. The lat is pretty expensive at 100 points, but it can be worth it. But I think the infantry support platform is way undercosted. So just keep that in mind too. While the saber tank, I think, might be slightly overcosted, I think it might be perfect, honestly, thinking about it. But I enjoy this tank a lot. That is just their base cost that I am stating. I just quickly looked it up on my phone. So yeah, I just want to point that out. I love the saber tank. Sorry, I'm rambling way too much about it. It's great. It's got armor 5, arsenal 2. It's really fun to use. I highly suggest it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my ramblings about it. And let's move on to the final slot. And I've been very picky, and I'm going to move arcs to the last spot here. I want to talk about ARFs first. I like them. I'm putting them in B. I'm moving them to A. Moving the Bad Batch down. I struggle with tier lists because I love these units. Moving on to the ARFs. Absolutely love it. I played a match where I took a full ARF unit. It was really fun. I put Echo into it. I was not running Bad Batch, but I put Echo into it because, you know, they can't go together if you're running Bad Batch. You can't have Echo in your ARFs. Just to clarify there, that's why I said that. The ARFs, though, performed really well. I probably put way too many points into them that game, but it was really fun to play, and I enjoyed them immensely, and I would highly recommend giving them a shot. I think they're really fun overall. So yeah, A tier. Just for that. By the way, they do have low profile, which makes, if they are rolling covered, they automatically save one of those, and they have Observe 2, I believe is what that says on their card. But yeah, they're just really nice. They also have Scout 1 and Unhindered, so they can move pretty efficiently at the start of the game. And it's just, I think they're a solid unit. I think they're A tier. And sadly, that's going to move us into some of the worst units, I think, that are in the Republic list. And why I don't really run Wookiees that much is just because while they have a lot of health, the Wookiee warriors, I think, are going to be above R2. And thematically, again, super fun. I enjoyed the theme of Wookiees. I really wish they were a little bit better overall when it comes to the power. I just can't justify taking them over my other clone troopers. Again, that synergizes better with my force overall because of the clone trooper keyword that allows clone troopers to share tokens. Wookiees just get a backseat overall for the Republic. And I'm not putting them in D tier just because of their theme. And I do think they're okay powerfully. I think they're better than the Barks. We're going to move them above the Barks. That is for both of the Wookiees units, which is why they're both there. So yeah, I don't feel that they're in a good place right now overall in the game. It's really fun to run, so I would suggest running them if you want to have fun. It's super fun. Again, don't take this as a competitive thing, but this is how I view each power of the units and overall how I enjoy playing them. And that gets to probably the best unit in the game for the Republic, and that's the Arcs. And I'm putting them S tier just because of how powerful they are. However, unlike the Commandos that I love running, I find Arcs a little bit too powerful for what they are, so they make it a little less fun when I'm playing casually. I ran a 501st squad when we were first me and my buddy were first getting into the new rule set, and the Arcs were a lot of fun to play when I took a lot of them, but you found out pretty fast that they are just pretty powerful, and I think with the new like Jedi Guardian that they can get, it ups them a little bit, but I honestly don't think. I've heard some chatter on like Reddit and other YouTube videos that arc medics might be the new meta. So if you're looking at competitive play, look at that, I guess. But I find them a little bit unfun. I still have fun when it's like 1, but I find it unfun when I take like 3, or if you're playing the 501st even more. Because I like diversifying my gameplay a little bit. The clone commandos, I only take 2 because of their complete the mission token. So yeah, I like having a little bit more fun. When I get into competitive, I'm sure if they're still good, I'll be taking them, because they are just that good, and they are the best Republic unit that is just a base unit in the game. And the thing is, they are less points than the ARFs, and that's probably because of their range. They can only do melee the 2, but they still roll 2 black dice each, which means that 4 you're rolling 8 black dice. Put another guy on there, that's 10 black dice. They have tactical 1, they have scout 2. They can get across the board real fast. They have scale, so the difficult terrain doesn't even matter to them, and they can climb. It's a scary unit, and that is why they are at the top here. Again, this is just my opinions. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, or leave a comment if you want to continue this talks about this or have any questions. Feel free. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you later. Bye.